Trump says he wants to end war with Iran quickly. U.S.-Iran talks could begin Thursday amid diplomatic progress. And fighting continues in South Lebanon despite ceasefire announcement. President Donald Trump said that he wants to end the war with Iran quickly as he campaigned in the key battleground state of Wisconsin. Speaking at a campaign event in Wisconsin, Trump said that the United States would come out of the conflict with Iran very quickly, one way or the other. He also linked the war to rising fuel and living costs, telling supporters that prices, including fertilizer costs, would soon decline. Trump said that negotiations with Tehran could make progress soon, although a final agreement to end the conflict remains uncertain. The visit comes as Republicans work to maintain control of Congress ahead of the upcoming midterm elections.
From coast to coast, under the last administration, Biden and the radical left Democrats in Congress crushed farmers with brutal...
Iran's foreign minister dismissed the possibility of a meeting between Iran's supreme leader and President Donald Trump, despite recent comments from the U.S. president. In an interview with a Lebanese satellite channel, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that discussions about a potential meeting with President Trump were unrealistic. Araghchi's comments came after Trump suggested that he could eventually meet Iran's supreme leader if negotiations between Washington and Tehran progress. The exchange reflects continuing uncertainty surrounding diplomatic efforts aimed at easing tensions between the two countries. Sources said that a new round of talks between the United States and Iran could take place as early as Thursday, amid signs of possible diplomatic progress. According to reports, Washington and Tehran may hold another round of negotiations aimed at advancing efforts towards a broader agreement. Previous reports said that the two sides are expected to work towards a preliminary memorandum of understanding before addressing unresolved issues in a final deal. President Donald Trump said that negotiations are moving smoothly and suggested an agreement could be reached soon. Trump also reiterated that the United States would never allow Iran to obtain nuclear weapons, while saying that Washington had considered but rejected sending ground forces to remove enriched uranium from Iranian facilities. Pakistan and Iran discussed regional tensions and efforts to preserve stability during talks in Kyrgyzstan. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsen Naqvi met with his Iranian counterpart Iskandar Mo'meni in Bishkek to discuss bilateral ties and the latest regional developments. According to Pakistan's Interior Ministry, the two sides exchanged views on reducing tensions and strengthening security coordination. They also stressed the importance of continuing diplomatic efforts to support lasting peace in the region. Pakistan has played a mediation role in contacts between Washington and Tehran since the April ceasefire in the Iran conflict. Iran's foreign minister said that Tehran and Oman will jointly oversee navigation through the Strait of Hormuz in line with international law. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that Tehran will coordinate with Oman on managing and regulating traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. He added that consultations will also take place with other Gulf countries although final decisions would remain with Iran and Oman. Araghchi also accused the United Arab Emirates of allowing its airspace and territory to be used in attacks against Iran, claiming that Tehran possesses evidence supporting the allegations. Meanwhile, he said that Iran and Saudi Arabia remain committed to maintaining stable relations and continuing dialogue between the two countries. The U.S. military said that it carried out strikes on Iranian radar sites after intercepting attack drones near the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. military said that American forces launched strikes on Iranian coastal radar positions in Guruk and on Qashm Island in what it described as a defensive action. According to the military, the operation came after Iran launched 4 attack drones towards the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces said that all the drones were intercepted and destroyed after posing what Washington described as an immediate threat to maritime traffic in the region. The latest exchange marks another escalation in tensions around the strategically vital waterway. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency said that inspectors still have only limited access to Iran's nuclear facilities, despite Tehran's obligations under international agreements. Speaking in Vienna, IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi said that inspectors have only partial access to Iranian nuclear facilities, despite the current ceasefire conditions. Grossi said that the agency has been allowed to visit selected sites, including the Bushehr nuclear power plant, but stressed that Iran's commitments to international inspections remain in place under all circumstances. He added that wartime conditions had restricted monitoring efforts, although the ceasefire has now been in effect for an extended period.
In terms of informing us and giving us access for our inspection work. It is clear that under war circumstances this is not possible, but there has been quite a long ceasefire. We were able to perform some activities in facilities that they chose, like the Bushehr nuclear power plant and other facilities in Iran. So obviously there is an element of discretion and in terms of what they allow us to see.
U.S. officials said that senior American envoys held talks with nuclear experts as negotiations with Iran continue to advance. According to Axios, U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner met with a group of nuclear specialists at a national laboratory in Tennessee. An American official described the meeting as a sign of progress in the diplomatic track with Iran. The report said that the team included leading nuclear experts capable of addressing the technical aspects of any potential agreement with Tehran. Iran has resumed oil loading operations at Kharg Island, the country's main oil export hub, according to a maritime analytics report. British maritime analytics firm Windroad said that satellite imagery showed a large crude carrier docked at Kharg Island for the first time since operations were suspended in early May following a suspected oil spill. The report said that the island's 2 main export terminals carried out loading operations simultaneously. Windroad added that the resumption of activity indicates Tehran is moving to restore its oil export capacity amid ongoing regional tensions. Iran's ambassador to Mexico said that Tehran's participation in the World Cup in the United States reflects what he described as Iran's commitment to peace despite ongoing tensions with Washington. Speaking at the Iranian embassy in Mexico City, the ambassador said that Iran's decision to compete in the tournament on U.S. soil sends a message that Tehran is not seeking confrontation with the American people. He said Iran's dispute is with the policies of President Donald Trump rather than with the United States itself. Meanwhile, a White House official said that Iranian players have been granted visas ahead of the team's opening World Cup match against New Zealand in Los Angeles on June the 15th.
ما واقعا تلاش میکنیم که ملت امریکا رو قانع کنیم که ما به دنبال بم نیستیم. دوم اینه که برای همه کشورها
U.S. forces intercepted Iranian missiles and drones launched towards the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, according to Central Command. The CENTCOM said that Iran launched 7 ballistic missiles towards Kuwait and Bahrain hours after U.S. forces shot down 4 Iranian attack drones near the Strait of Hormuz. According to the U.S. military, the drones posed an immediate threat to maritime traffic in the region. American forces later carried out strikes on Iranian coastal radar sites in Guruk and on Qishm Island to prevent further attacks. CENTCOM said that 6 of the Iranian missiles were intercepted, while a 7th failed to reach its intended target. Iran's foreign minister discussed the latest regional developments with a senior Hamas official amid the ongoing fighting in Gaza. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi held a phone call with senior Hamas official Khalil al-Hayya to discuss the latest developments in the region. According to Hamas, Israel's continued operations in Gaza are undermining the ceasefire agreement. Al-Hayya said that the movement and the Palestinian people remain committed to what he described as their national objectives. Araghchi, meanwhile, said that Iran will continue supporting the Palestinian and Lebanese people and opposing Israeli occupation and military actions. And to sum things up, the overall picture across the region remains highly complex and deeply interconnected. All diplomatic channels between Washington and Tehran are still active, and both sides continue to exchange proposals and signals of possible progress. The military situation on the ground continues to create serious obstacles to any lasting agreement. The United States maintains pressure through military deployments and defensive operations in the Gulf, while Iran insists that it remains fully prepared to respond to any escalation and continues to link broader regional calm to developments in Lebanon and Gaza. At the same time, tensions around the Strait of Hormuz, concerns over Iran's nuclear program, and the continued fighting on multiple fronts are all keeping the region in a fragile and unpredictable state. For now, diplomacy has not collapsed, but neither has it produced a breakthrough. The coming period will likely determine whether the region moves towards a broader political settlement or slips once again into a wider cycle of confrontation and instability. For a clear understanding of what's really going on, we now move to Mark Summers in our newsroom. Over to you, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning, Hannah. Thank you very much. Yes, we're now joined from Amman by the political science professor, Dr. Arija Jebr. Thank you very much for being here with us. So, Doctor, we have this situation where we've had an exchange of fire, another one in the Gulf. We have Trump saying perhaps talks will get back on track by maybe Thursday. So where are we? Are we closer to a military escalation, or are we closer to diplomacy?
My greetings to you and good morning to all of you. In relation to the negotiations and the return of the escalation, all this depends on two things. As for the negotiations are very slow, and as for the escalation, it is like a rabbit. I mean that there is a possibility to have escalation, and this is more possible than have successful negotiations. This doesn't mean that we are going to return to a comprehensive war, but the possibility of having negotiations, successful negotiations, is not very powerful. The U.S. and President Trump, of course, are in a tight corner now because there is embarrassment, because some Republicans are against President Trump, and the House of Representatives really limits the authorities of President Trump. That's why there are a lot of things that obstacle ending is as crisis. And of course, as for negotiations, if there are conditions from America, and they are, of course, insisting on them, this is not acceptable for Iran. And as for Iran, they showed some resistance, and of course there are a lot of circumstances like the economic crisis, and Iran now is speaking with a tone of escalation. One of the officials of Iran said that there must be some actions in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, and of course there is a need now to have a war which is more powerful, or to end this and to end the tension, or they can sit on the negotiation table and have a framework deal that will end this chaos.
And also, of course, we have, when it comes to negotiations, do you think Lebanon and the situation in Lebanon is going to be integral to those negotiations between the US and Iran?
As for Iran, up till now, Iran and the representative of Iran in Lebanon is Hezbollah. They see that this last deal, after 4 tours of negotiations with America and Israel, this really led to the deterioration of the sovereignty of Lebanon, and Israel now says that Hezbollah is the enemy of Israel, and Iran now insists that Lebanon must be part and parcel of the negotiations, and the ceasefire must be real and according to the vision of Iran. And of course this would be for the interest of Hezbollah, and not excluding Hezbollah from the existence and from the political scene. Hezbollah is like a front for Iran, and Iran supports it, and to say that Hezbollah is just a proxy of Iran, this is just to satisfy the occupation. That's why Iran insists that Hezbollah must be a pressuring card in the hands of Iran, because the US and Israel tried the best to minimize the Iranian power, and of course there is sensitivity in the south of Lebanon because it is close to Gaza, and of course this really is related to existential risk on the part of Israel, and of course this is very clear to everyone.
Now, how would you assess the role of other countries in the region, UAE, Bahrain, Oman, and other countries like that? And how are they dealing, and how have they been dealing with this crisis?
There is a division in relation to the Gulf state position. Some countries really find themselves up to some direct targeting, like Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, and they have the right to defend themselves and not to be a target of Israel or a target of Iran as well. And on the other side, the Qatar and Saudi Arabia try their best to contain the risk of Iran and to deal with the principles of neighborhood and to have some negotiations and to depend on the diplomatic path and to pressure the U.S. and to deal with Pakistani mediators in order to accelerate the success of diplomacy.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm going to have to cut you off there. We're just out of time, but thank you very much indeed. From Oman, that was political science professor, Dr. Arija Jeba. Thank you very much indeed. And now let's go back to Hella in the studio.
Thank you so much, Mark. From Iran, we turn to Lebanon, where ceasefire efforts remain under pressure as fighting and diplomatic negotiations continue in parallel.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Fighting continued in southern Lebanon despite a conditional ceasefire announcement by the Lebanese and Israeli governments. Lebanon's state news agency said that Israeli airstrikes targeted multiple areas in the south, killing at least 13 people and wounding 15 others. The escalation came as disagreements between Israel and Hezbollah continued to delay implementation of the ceasefire agreement. Hezbollah said that the fighters attacked Israeli military positions in several southern areas and engaged in direct clashes with Israeli occupation forces. The group also said that it launched explosive drone attacks targeting Israeli occupation troops and military vehicles near the border. Iran renewed its backing for Hezbollah and again called for a full Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon amid ongoing regional tensions. Tehran said that a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah remains a key condition for any broader agreement with Washington aimed at ending the regional conflict. The latest comments highlight continued complications facing diplomatic efforts to secure a wider U.S.-Iran understanding and restore shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, diplomats said that the United States is preparing a draft resolution condemning Iran ahead of next week's meeting of the UN nuclear watchdog, a move that could further complicate negotiations.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear. If you look at that,
or we're out.
The U.S. Embassy in Cairo marked the 250th anniversary of American independence during an official celebration attended by senior Egyptian officials, diplomats, and foreign representatives.
The U.S. Embassy in Cairo held an official commemoration for the 250th anniversary of U.S. independence, hosting it on AUC's campus. The celebration gathered a number of high-ranking Egyptian and foreign officials and dignitaries. The reception was attended by senior Egyptian and U.S. diplomats, including U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Robert Silverman and Egypt Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs Dr. Hussein Isa. Silverman addressed attendees, marking the milestone and highlight historic ties between Egypt and the United States.
We celebrated today the achievements of Egyptian Americans. There are so many. We're so proud of what Egyptian Americans, those are American citizens who come from Egypt. We chose on this occasion to honor the achievements of Americans who come from Egypt because the two countries have so much in common. They're big, multicultural countries.
When I look at this community, I see powerful connective tissue.
During the ceremony, an inspiring documentary was screened showcasing elite Egyptian American dignitaries living and working in the United States, sharing their achievements and stories of success.
I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so proud to be Egyptian and to be American. In the U.S., I'm on Broadway, I do film and TV, I sing, I do concerts, I do everything. I'm an artist. Whatever calls to me, I do. And when I opened the Gem in November, it was my first time performing in Egypt, and I felt like I was home. And so I'm trying to come back to Egypt as much as I can to perform and to connect with Egyptians and with my soul and my roots. So I'm so honored.
We brought our heritage, our family tradition, our culture, our tolerance, and especially in a country like Egypt with a diverse community from the interfaith, brought me to a great relation with the New York City community of people comes from everywhere, especially my line of work, which is basically handling close to 8,000 houses of worship or religion and denomination. And we learned this is in Egypt as a proud Egyptian, born and raised here, that we have to accept and work and tolerate and be pleasant as our teaching in the school, our family, and our religion. Whether you're Muslim or Christian, you bring these values to wherever you go.
Several prominent dual citizen dignitaries attended the event, sharing their inspiring achievements and expressing their pride in representing Egypt abroad, while highlighting their profound joy and emotional connection upon returning to their homelands.
Strategic navigation of the AI frontier.
The reception served as a high-profile highlight of the Embassy's year-long America 250 initiative that celebrates both the profounding of the United States and the extensive century-long friendship and strategic partnership between U.S. and Egypt.
Over the years, the Egypt-U.S. partnership has proven to be one of the bedrocks of stability in this region, a source of economic drive and commercial opportunity, and really just an opportunity for the Egyptian and American people to get to know each other, to innovate together, to create together, and really to celebrate each other's cultures, each other's histories, each other's traditions.
The U.S. Independence Day, referred to as the 4th of July, commemorates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. This historic document officially declared that the 13 American colonies were no longer subject to the British Crown, marking the birth of the United States as an independent nation.
To be Egyptian and American.
From Egypt, the cradle of civilization, the U.S. Embassy in Cairo celebrated the U.S. 250th anniversary of its Independence Day, highlighting the strategic partnership between Egypt and the U.S. and expressing optimism of greater opportunities, existing opportunities for collaboration between both nations that could serve the interests of both countries, also highlighting Egypt as a cornerstone for the peace and security in the region. Mona Musalhi reporting for Qnews.
Ebola resurfaced as a fast-spreading outbreak grips Central Africa, prompting urgent global concern, intensified containment efforts, and renewed calls for coordinated international action to prevent escalation.
From the heart of a rapidly evolving global health emergency, Ebola is once again drawing urgent international attention as health authorities race to contain a widening outbreak across Central Africa. Intensified monitoring, emergency response measures, and global coordination efforts are underway to prevent further spread. Hundreds of infections have been confirmed, with additional suspected cases under investigation. Health teams are working in remote areas to trace contacts, isolate patients, and strengthen treatment capacity. Dozens of deaths have been reported, while recoveries offer cautious optimism. The World Health Organization Director General stressed the need to strengthen health systems and ensure an uninterrupted humanitarian response.
So people can recover. Of course, we're working on vaccines and treatments, but that doesn't mean that people cannot recover from Ebola. So that's, I think, a strong message.
U.S. Senator Jean Shaheen called for coordination, global action, sustained funding, and vaccine support through Gavi, including investment in vaccine development and distribution.
And as we know, one of the entities that is a critical global health tool is Gavi, particularly during a disease outbreak. It plays a role in distributing Ebola vaccines, and it has committed up to $40 million to develop a vaccine for the current Ebola strain that has no vaccine right now.
A survivor pediatric nurse, Baraka Bulambula, said Ebola is real, not misinformation. He described his isolation experience and expressed gratitude after recovery and returning to his family.
La maladie existe et moi j'étais parmi les malades en isolement. Dieu merci, aujourd'hui je suis purgé et je suis à la maison. Ici je suis chez moi avec la famille.
Aid agencies warn that access restrictions and limited resources continue to hinder containment efforts, even as international support is being deployed. In conclusion, the Ebola crisis underscores a stark global reality. Infectious diseases recognize no borders, and only sustained cooperation can defend against a threat defined by urgency and uncertainty.
Well, that's all for now, but before we go, let's take a quick look at the top headlines making news this hour. Trump says he wants to end war with Iran quickly. U.S.-Iran talks could begin Thursday amid diplomatic progress. And fighting continues in South Lebanon despite ceasefire announcement. This brings us to the end of this morning's edition of the Bulletin. I'm Halal Hamalawi. Thank you so much for watching Q News, your window to the latest developments from across the region and the entire world. Stay with us as we have more updates and analysis coming your way here on Q News.